everyone, it's Nadia from YARNutopia. Today we are making this green costume wig. This is part of Nate's Halloween costume, and I just wanted to share how I made it. You can make it in any color you want, but the green wig is for Nate's costume, but you can make it in yellow, red, blue, whatever type of wig you want to make. It is stuffed, as you can see here. It is stuffed with polyfill. We are actually going to be making 2 hats and then putting them together and sewing around the whole edge. And it doesn't really look round on top right now, but once it's on the head, it fills out pretty nicely. And then we have this little applique, this little piece here that is also stuffed underneath there and pinned down to make this curlicue kind of front here. Then we also are rolling up the back. You can add pipe cleaners if you want to. I don't know if I have mine in here, but there are pipe cleaners in there, and we sewed this down. There they are. You can see them rolled in there. And then we sewed this down, just pinned it down so that it's rolled up in the back. So like that. So the supplies you need for this hat are Red Heart Super Saver yarn. This is a worsted weight yarn. It's a size 4 medium yarn, and it's 100% acrylic. You can use an acrylic yarn or a cotton yarn or even a wool yarn that is a size 4 worsted weight, or an Aran weight, which is it's a little thicker than a double knitting yarn. We are using an entire skein of yarn here. That's 364 yards of yarn. We're using the full skein of yarn to make this hat because we are making 2 hats and sewing them together. So big thank you to Red Heart Yarns for providing this skein of yarn today. You're also going to need an H-sized hook, which is 5 millimeters. This hook is one of my most favorite crochet hooks that I've ever used. It's from the Etsy shop Would Be Fancy. You can get this hook just by clicking the link in the description of this video. These are hand-carved, ergonomic, wooden-handled crochet hooks. There are right-handed hooks, left-handed hooks, and international shipping available. So make sure you check out that shop and get your crochet hooks right away. These are great for gifts too, which the holidays are right around the corner. Also, you're going to need a scissors and a yarn needle to cut yarn, sew things together, sew in your ends, and all that good stuff. So those are all the supplies you're going to need today. I do want to mention there are other links in the description of this video, so not only all the links for all these supplies, there's also a link to the free crochet pattern that I will be writing out and putting on YARNutopia.com, so you can check that out there. There's also a link to my Facebook, Instagram, my Snapchat username, my Twitter, my Reddit, all that stuff. Make sure you follow me on social media so you can see what we're up to here in the community, and join the community and join the conversation. And make sure that you hit subscribe below this video or on my channel, YARNutopia YouTube channel, so make sure you check that out. I have to say a huge thank you to my dad back there for filming this tutorial with us, editing everything, and taking these fabulous photos of our Halloween costumes. So that's all the information I have right now. If you have any questions, be sure to check out the notes section of the pattern. This is for an adult size hat, and I don't have other sizes, but it is very roomy and stretchy, so you can make this pretty much any size if you stop increasing at a certain point and just going down to the non-increase section here. So you can make these really in any size. So check out the notes section. If you have more questions though, please leave me a comment and I will get back to you ASAP. Alright, let's get started and make this green costume wig. To start this wig, we are going to make a slip knot. So put your short end over your long end, then fold this down and pull your long end through, and then pull tight. Insert your hook and we can start. Just pull that a little tighter. There we go. So we're going to start out by chaining 2, so yarn over, pull through, 1 and 2. If you would prefer to start with the magic ring, you can do that. And then put 9 single crochets into your magic ring. Or put 9 single crochets in the second chain from your hook right here. So go into this chain, yarn over and pull through, and then yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. That is a single crochet. So again, go back in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through, 2 loops. There's our second one. Go in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. There's 3, here's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's going to get pretty tight in there, here's 9. So you should have 9 single crochets all the way around. Now for this hat, we are going to slip stitch to the first stitch, so if you need to count back 9 stitches, go into the very first stitch right here, yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook. And there's 9 stitches. Now what we're going to do is chain 1, and we're going to turn our work around. And we are going to be turning our work after every round. Now going on to round 2, we are going to put 2 single crochets into each stitch all the way around. Okay, so hop into this one right here, put 2 single crochets in there. 1, go back in for 2. Okay, and do that in each stitch. So 1, go back in, 2. 1 and 2. Okay, so do that all the way around. At the end of round 2, you'll have 18 single crochets all the way around. I'll do that and I will come back for round 3. So this last stitch right here is still considered a stitch. You can see our chain 1 right here. We need to, this is actually our slip stitch, and then our chain 1, okay? So we actually have to still go into that stitch and make our last 2 single crochets. And that finishes off round 2. Now we're going to slip stitch to the first single crochet right here. So count back 18 if you need to. Go into the very first single crochet stitch, yarn over, pull through, and pull through. Then chain 1, and then turn your work around. Going on to round 3, we are going to put 2 single crochets in this first stitch right here. So 1 and 2. And we're just going to put 1 single crochet in the very next stitch right here. 1. Okay? And we're just going to repeat that sequence all the way around. So put 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Then 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch. And do that all the way around. At the end of round 3, you'll have 27 single crochet stitches. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll meet you up. We'll go on to round 4 next. Just like I showed you in the previous round, this last stitch right here is considered a stitch. So you can see here I have 2 single crochets in this stitch. We have to put 1 single crochet in the last stitch, and then slip stitch to the first single crochet. So if you need to, count back 27 stitches and go into this very first stitch here, yarn over, pull through, and through. Then chain 1, turn your work around, and we're going on to round 4 now. So for round 4, we have to put 2 single crochets in this first stitch, 1 and 2, and then 1 single crochet, in the next 2 stitches. So 1 in this stitch, hop to the next stitch, and just put 1 single crochet in there. So then this next stitch is going to be a repeat. Now we're repeating here. So there's 2 in the first, 1 in the next 2. So 2 in this one, 1 and 2, and then just 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Then the next stitch is going to have 2 single crochets in it, 1 and 2, so both, you can see both in the same stitch there. Then 1 in each of the next 2 stitches. Okay, so at the end of round 4, you'll have 36 single crochet stitches. So I'll do that, and then we'll go on for another increase on the next round. Alright, just finishing this round here. Remember, last stitch goes into this stitch right here. Even though it looks like something is worked in there, it's just the slip stitch and chain 1 stitch there. So you need to count back 36 stitches for round 4. Go into the very first single crochet stitch right here and slip stitch into that. Then chain 1 and turn your work around, and going on to round 5, we are just increasing another stitch. So put 2 single crochets in the first stitch, 1 and 2, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. 1, next one, 2, next one, 3. And just repeat that sequence all the way around. So 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. Just like that. And then repeat. 2 in the next, 1 in the next 3. And do that all the way around. At the end of round 5, we are going to have 45 single crochet stitches. Now don't worry if your work is starting to look like this, kind of like a taco, I guess. Don't worry about that yet. Once we get to the non-decrease part, these sides will come down and they'll look more bowl shaped, like a head. So don't worry about the shape yet. We're getting there. So just to do this repeat all the way around, 2 in the next, 1 in the next 3. And once I have 45 stitches, I'll come back. We'll go on to round 6 together. Alright, just finished round 5 there. Going on to round 6, just slip stitch into the first single crochet stitch right here. If you need to count back 45, go over to the 45th stitch, or the first stitch in the sequence here. Yarn over, pull through and through. Going on to round 6, we're going to chain up 1, turn our work around, and we are going to do another increase. We're going to put 2 single crochets in this first stitch, 1 and 2, then 1 single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches for this round. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then repeat that sequence all the way around. So 2 single crochets in the next stitch, then 1 single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. And then just repeat. 2 in the next, let's see, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, yep. So 2 in the next here, 1 and 2, and then 1 in the next 4. And at the end of round 6, you'll have 54 stitches around. So I'll just repeat this sequence all the way around, and then I'll meet you up. We'll go on to round 7 next. Alright, just finished round 6 there. Slip stitch to the very first single crochet of this round, right here. Go in, yarn over, pull through and through. Like I said, you should have 54 stitches. Now for this next round, we are going to increase, but it's going to be a little bit different than our last one. So you can see this is what my work looks like. It's very not flat, and it's kind of wobbly, but don't worry, it will go flat later. So let's chain up 1 and turn our work around. Now for this next round, like I said, we're going to increase just a little differently. So we're going to put 2 single crochets in this first stitch, 1 and 2. And then instead of going into each of the next 5 stitches this round, we're going to go in the next 8 stitches this round, okay? So just put 1 single crochet in each of the next 8 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, next one, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then repeat that sequence all the way around. So instead of increasing 9 stitches around, you're only going to increase 6 times around. So 2 single crochets in the next stitch, 1 and 2, 1 single crochet in each of the next 8 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so at the end of this round, this is round 7, you will have 60 single crochets all the way around for round 7. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll come back. We'll go on to round 8 next. Alright, just finishing round 7. Going on to round 8, let's slip stitch to the first stitch right here. You should have 60 stitches around. Going on to round 8, we're going to chain up 1, turn our work around, and we are going to put 2 single crochets in this first stitch right here. So 1 and 2. And then we're going to single crochet 1 stitch in each of the next 9 stitches this round. I had to think about that for a second here. So count here, 1, next one is 2, here's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, and then just repeat that whole sequence all the way around. So 2 single crochets in the very next stitch, 1 and 2. Okay, so they're both in that same stitch there. Then 1 single crochet in each of the next 9 stitches. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and then repeat. So do that all the way around. At the end of round 8, you will have 66 single crochets all the way around. So I'll do that, and I'll come back. We'll increase 1 last time for row 9. Alright, just finished up, there we go, round 8 there. So slip stitch to the first single crochet right here, go in, yarn over, pull through, and through. Alright, last increase row, round 9, chain up 1, turn your work around, put 2 single crochets in the first stitch, 1 and 2, and then put 1 single crochet in each of the next 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, and then just repeat that whole sequence all the way around. So put 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next 10 stitches. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And repeat. 2 in the next, 1 in the next 10. At the end of round 9, you'll have 72 single crochet stitches. So I'm going to do that, and once I have my 72 stitches, we're done increasing. We'll go on to round 10 next. Alright, just finished round 9. Slip stitch to the first single crochet right here, go in, yarn over, pull through, and through. Chain 1 and turn your work. You're chaining 1 and turning your work every round, so turn your work around. Now, for rounds 10 through 25, we are going to be just putting 1 single crochet into each stitch around, okay? So, rounds 10 through 25. 1 single crochet in each stitch around, slip stitch to the first single crochet of the round, and then turn your work around, and then single crochet, or chain 1 I guess, then single crochet into each stitch around. And so there's no more increasing, we're just single crocheting in each stitch around now for round 10 through 25. So do that, I'm going to do that, and then once I finish round 25, you'll see that this is going to start to kind of bowl up on each side like this and become more of a hat shape, and then this kind of floppiness, I guess, this bent area is going to flatten out, and it won't be so wobbly, I guess. So I'm going to do that for these few rounds, And then once I'm finished with round 25, I'll come back on screen. I will show you we're actually done working in circles. Well, I guess we're working back and forth, but in circles. We're going to be working across in rows for the next row, which I will come back when we start row 26. Alright, I just finished round 25. I'm slip stitching to the beginning here. So at this point, this is what your work should look like. And like I said earlier, that this will bowl up and flatten out. And you can see the top there. It kind of has some waviness, but once we stuff it and wear it, it will flatten out more like this. So that looks good. This should reach to your eyebrows. Okay, at this point, so over your head right down to your eyebrows. If it does not, if it's still too short, just do a few more rows until this part gets to your eyebrows, over your forehead. Then, at this point, we are going to do rows. We are going to do the sides of the wig. So what we're going to do is chain one and turn the work around. Okay, we're still continuing to turn our work here every row. And row 26 says to single crochet into 52 stitches, or as many stitches as you need to have 20 stitches left. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just single crochet until there are 20 stitches left on my row. For me, because I have 72 stitches, I'm going to single crochet into 52 of them. That will leave 20 stitches unworked. And that will be the front of our wig, basically, so our face can show, and then this will be the back side of the wig that will have the hair, quote unquote, hanging down. So I'm just single crocheting into 52 stitches, and once I do that, I will come back and I'll show you the next step. Alright, I just single crocheted into 52 stitches, so as you can see our start is here and we went around to here and there's 20 stitches left. We are going to leave these ones unworked. We are not going to be working this. But if you want to try it on and see where this ends and this ends, this should be your face measurement. So if you want to do more or less, just make sure your eyes are going to be exposed so you won't be covering your eyes or anything. So now what we're going to do is go on to, let's see here, row 27. We are chaining up one and turning the work around. And all we're going to do is single crochet into each stitch on this row 26. So just 52 stitches, leaving the rest of these stitches from here to here unworked. Okay, so we're just going to single crochet into these 52 stitches. So that's for row 27. So I'll do that and then I'll come back and we'll do row 28 next. Alright, don't forget this last stitch right here. It can be kind of hidden, but just make sure that you can see your chain one right there and then your last stitch is there. And leave the rest of these stitches unworked. Make sure that you have 52 stitches or you have 20 stitches left here, okay? And for rows 28 to 48, okay, we are going to chain one, turn the work around, and just single crochet across these 52 stitches. And that will get us the length of the back of the hair, the wig, yes, until however long we need it to be. I want to do many rows of this because we are curling it up. So just keep that in mind. If you feel like yours is getting a little too long, we are going to be stuffing this and curling it up. So I'm going to do rows 28 to 48, just repeating row 27. And once I'm finished with that, I'll come back, I'll show you the next step, and we'll go from there. Alright, once you finish row 48, this is what your piece should look like, well, upside down. So you can see the sides of your piece. Don't worry about it curling, we will be sewing this together. So this is what your piece should look like. And this is long, this is really long, so we'll be folding this up like this and curling it around. So if you don't want to have it to be like super obnoxious and thick around, like I'm stuffing this, you can end here and just curl yours up and follow along with those directions. But I'm going to make another one. So let's fasten this first one off with a short tail, so chain 1, and cut your yarn short, and then pull that through and pull tight, okay? And now what I need you to do is rewind this and make one exactly like this right here. And your second one, I have one already done here, your second one we are going to fasten off with a very long tail. As you can see here, okay, not that long, but long enough to sew around everything. And pull it through your chain 1. Okay, so just keep pulling, there we go, and pull that tight, and that is secure. So there is your second hat. So just, if you need to rewind this, make another hat like this, and then once you have 2 hats complete, exactly the same, come back and we will go on to the next step. So the next step now is to actually turn this one inside out. If you see this straggler right here, have one of them inside out with the straggler out, and then the other one with the straggler inside. Okay? And we are going to put this one underneath and into this one. So we have 2 hats. Just line everything up, and put it together, just like that, okay? But before we sew this closed and stuff it, what I want to do is make the bangs area, let me grab this hat here, my prototype. I want to make this area here. So what we want to do is make a rectangular piece with a point, and then add these strands, and then sew it to this top layer and stuff it and everything, so that that will be secure before we sew all this together. It's just going to be much easier in the end. So let's set this hat aside, grab some more yarn, and start making the bangs. Alright, let's start off with a slip knot. We're using the same color, and you know how to do a slip knot now. Go in with your hook, and we're going to start out by chaining 16. So yarn over, pull through, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just going to go fast here. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And we're going to single crochet into the second chain from the hook and all the way across. So the loop on the hook doesn't count as a chain, so count 1 and 2. And what I usually do is turn the chain toward me. You don't have to, but I like to work in these back ridges of the chain. So go into the second chain right here, yarn over and pull through, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And that is a single crochet. You already know we did this through the whole pattern. Go into the next chain and single crochet. Okay, and we're just going to single crochet into each of these chains then. So you should have 15 single crochets all the way across once you are done with row 1 of these bangs, this front of the wig area. So I'm just going to single crochet across, and I'll come back for row 2. Alright, I have 15 single crochets across for row 1. Now rows 2 through 13, we are going to chain 1, turn our work around, and then single crochet into each stitch across for 15 stitches for each row. So we're just going to single crochet across, then chain 1, turn our work around, and then single crochet across. And do that for rows 2 through 13. And once I'm finished with row 13, I'll come back, we'll go on to row 14 next. Alright, once you finish row 13 here, row 13, this is what your piece should look like, just a little rectangle. So now at this point we want to come in up here, we're going to come inward like this. So we want to decrease. So let's chain 1, row 14, it says to single crochet 2 stitches together. So go into this very first stitch, yarn over, pull through, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 of the loops on your hook, and that's a decrease. Single crochet 2 together stitch. Now we're just going to single crochet in each stitch until there are only 2 stitches left. And I believe that's 11 stitches here. 1, 2, 3, let's see here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Yep, there's 2 stitches left here. We are going to single crochet those 2 together. So go into this next stitch, yarn over, pull through, go into the last stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. So at the end of row 14, you should have 13 stitches across. So now let's chain 1 and turn our work around, and rows 15 and 16, we are just going to single crochet into each stitch. So you'll still have 13 stitches across for rows 15 and 16. So I'll do that, and then I'll meet you up. We'll go on to row 17 next. Alright, chain 1, turn your work around. Row 17 says to single crochet into 6 stitches. So just put a single crochet in these first 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, here's 4, 5, and 6. And we're just going to skip right over this next one, and we're going to single crochet into the rest of the stitches across here. So there should be 6 stitches left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that dropped us 1 stitch down because we skipped this one right in the middle there, and that allows us to have 12 stitches across now. So chain 1, turn our work around. Row 18 says to single crochet into 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to do the single crochet 2 together stitch. So go into this this next stitch right here, yarn over, pull through, go into the next stitch here, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Okay, and do that again. So go into the next stitch here, yarn over, pull through, go into the next stitch right here, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. There should be 4 stitches left. We are just going to put 1 single crochet in the rest of those stitches. And then we can go on to row 19. So you can see here it's starting to decrease a little bit, as you can see here and here. So going on to row 19, we're going to chain up 1 and turn the work around and single crochet into the first 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to single crochet 2 together. So go into this one, and then this one, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and the next 2 stitches as well. Single crochet those 2 together. Just like this. And then there should be 3 stitches left. Single crochet in each one of those. 1, 2, and 3. So at the end of row 19, you should have 8 stitches left. Go on to row 20, chain 1, turn the work around, single crochet into 2 stitches. So 1 and 2, and then single crochet 2 together. And then single crochet the next 2 together. And then you should have 2 stitches left on this row. So we are going to single crochet in each one of those. So you should have 6 stitches left on row 20. Chain 1 and turn your work around. We are going to single crochet in the first stitch, then single crochet 2 together, then single crochet the next 2 together, and then single crochet into the last stitch. Now you should have 4 stitches on row 21 there. Okay, going on to row 22, we're going to chain 1, turn our work around, and single crochet these first 2 stitches together. and then single crochet those last 2 stitches together. And we're going to go on to one more row. Let's chain 1, turn the work around, and just single crochet these last 2 stitches together and make them into 1 stitch. Now we want to fasten off here, so I'm going to chain 1, and I am actually going to fasten off with a really long tail, only because I can sew this down later on. So I'm going to pull out a bunch of yarn here, cut it, then pull it through that chain 1. And I know this does not look like a top or a bangs or anything yet, but as you can see, it's kind of rounded in here. What we're going to do is fold it kind of like this down, and then later we're going to use this strand and pin it down through here, and then sew it across here, down here, along this bottom edge and up this edge here to our hat. Okay, and now we want to make a curlicue to attach to that part. So what we're going to do is set this all aside, grab some more yarn, and this part is super easy. We're making a slip knot, okay, and we are going to chain 7. So yarn over, pull through, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We're going to single crochet into the second chain from the hook and in each chain across. And that's the curlicue because it will naturally curl and cue. So we're just single crocheting across here, and then we're going to fasten this off, so chain 1. Okay, we're going to cut our yarn kind of long for sewing, pull it through, pull tight, and then you can kind of stretch it and curl it. And there's the curl. Sweet. So what we're going to do next is grab our yarn needle and take your curlicue here. We're going to yarn our needle with that. Okay, I'm going to go into the very top stitch right up here on this piece. Okay, take both ends of this piece and go through the top of this, just like that. Then you can tie them in a knot in the back here. And then we can just sew those ends in. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to cut them both the same size. And this strand right here is going to be used to sew this big piece on. So I'm going to cut these strands to be equal sized from the curlicue. These are the long strands from the curlicue. And I'm just going to yarn my needle with both of those strands and sew them in underneath these stitches. Okay. And back. Fabulous. Awesome. Okay, so then cut any extra, if there is any extra. Careful with your scissors. Okay, so there's the curlicue attached to the top. Now what we want to do is grab our hat, okay, and position everything the way we want it to be. Okay, then what we're going to do is position this piece on top of the hat, and make sure that you can see these two rows here. This is a 2 rows. Okay, 2 rows, 2 rows, 2 rows. Make sure they're equal with these rows. 2 rows, 2 rows, 2 rows. If you have the back side, you can see there's just 1 row there. If that's facing you, then make sure this side is facing you, because there's that 1 row. So you want to make sure they look even. You want to make sure that this looks like it's one piece. And we're just going to actually, we don't want to lay it flat. We want it to come in just a little bit so it kind of bubbles up, because we will be stuffing this, okay? So grab your yarn needle and the long strand of that piece, Oops, I got it in a knot here. Sorry about that. Okay, so yarn your needle with that long strand, and I'll show you how to sew this on. So we want to sew it on, we want to first pin this down at this point. So I have to get this yarn down the side and to the middle here. So what I'm going to do is just weave it in and out of the edge, just like this. Okay, just weave it in and out, and there we go. So down to about that point right there. You can kind of just eyeball it. Okay, now what we want to do is fold this up like this. Okay, and then we just want to weave this in and out just like that. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because hair kind of just flies in the wind. So just kind of pin it down wherever. Okay. And then I'm going to come back out onto this side here. Oops. Okay, and now I'm on this edge. So what we're going to do now is put this onto our hat. That is so funny looking. Oh my gosh, this is going to be awesome. Okay, so we're going to put this on our hat, and we are going to just go, so I'm just doing this top layer hat. If you want to, just take this hat out so you don't sew it, you know, to both hats. Just this top layer hat, okay? And let me get all this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so center it, kind of just eyeball where you want to center it. Right here. And then go in and out of your hat like so. Sew it like so. Okay. And actually, I do want to put strands around here too, which I didn't think of earlier. So sorry. So what I'm actually going to grab is some more yarn from the ball of yarn, and we are going to make the strands so that, because if you end up doing it afterward, it could be a little difficult. So I'm going to actually hold off on this strand and kind of set it aside. And I have yarn from the ball of yarn right here. I'm just yarning my needle here. And we want to go around and around and around, kind of like how my prototype looks right here, where these strands are just like kind of around this whole piece, okay? So what I want to do, and this is going to take a few minutes here, but we want to go in, I guess, from the back of this. So that's why I have this up here, actually, okay? Go from the top, about this much, right here. You want to go all the way to the edge. Okay, pull a lot through, a lot. Okay, and then just come back around. Okay, but don't pull too tight. Okay, so don't pull too tight. We want to be able to stuff this thing. Okay, so I'm just going around and around. Just like this. Not too tight. And come back through, around. And we're going to do this all the way down till here. Okay? Once that's done, then we can sew the rest of this piece to the hat and stuff it, and then we can go on to the next step. Alright, so I just went round and around and around, and it ended up going back and forth a little bit, and it ended right here. And I ended up cutting the ball of yarn too with a long strand and went both ways, so excuse me. I knew I was gonna sneeze. So I'm going to tie this in a knot in the back here. Sorry about that. So I'm just going to cut these 2 strands and then cut them or tie them in a knot in the back, because this is going to be stuffed and nobody's going to see this. So it's back here, and if you want to, you can tuck it in behind some of these strands too, just to keep them, I guess, hidden. Okay, so now going back to this long strand that we sewed across this edge here, we're going to sew the front piece on. So I'm going to yarn my needle with that again. Okay, and then we're going to go down. So this piece is just a straggler, and I'm going to shove it into the inside of this right here. Okay, and I have this secure right here. Okay, and you can see that I'm going to work in and out of this piece, and I know it's hard to see where I'm going to put my stitching and everything, but it's because these strands of yarn are covering where I'm going. I'm going to work underneath these strands of yarn, okay, into the piece, into the hat, just like that. Okay, and then up into the piece, between the strands, and you can move the strands out of the way so you can see where you're going, working underneath the strands into the next stitches. I know it's hard to see, and then back down through the hat. Okay, just like that. And once we get to this edge right here, and then we start going up, I actually want to stuff this piece before we go on. So I'm going to keep going and go up to right about here, because there's still space back here where we want to sew across the top as well. So once I'm ready to stuff, we're just going to go back and forth in and out of the hat and this piece, so both layers of everything. Sew this down, and once I have it stuffed and ready to go on to the next step, we'll fasten this off together and we'll be able to add the other hat as well. Alright, so I sewed across this bottom edge and up this side, and now I'm sewing across the top here. You want to make sure this piece is centered across the front as well. So if you needed to push it in or pull it out just a little bit, just to be centered, make sure that it is centered. And now there's just enough room to add some stuffing inside of this piece. So I'm going to grab that, open this up, shove a bunch of stuffing down in there, kind of separate it, distribute it how it should look, just like this. Awesome. Don't want it to be overstuffed. Obviously you can see there's overstuffed, so you want to, you know, kind of close that. There we go. Make sure not to overstuff. And continue your sewing all the way across. And then we are going to fasten this off inside of the hat. Okay, so once you have this secured down, we're going to go into the hat. Okay. And since this side isn't even going to be shown, I am going to come around here and kind of just close this area as well, just because nobody's going to see this, and we want to make sure it's completely closed, and then go back into the hat. Okay, can't even tell. Now we're just going to go around a couple of stitches here and pull this loop. Hold this loop through your finger and go back through that loop to tie the knot. Okay? And then I'm going to cut this a little shorter, but you can leave that just free and clear because that's going to be hidden. Awesome. So now you can shape this how you want, but this is kind of how it should look. It looks fabulous. Awesome. And once it's on the head, it will look even better. So now, going on to the next step, look at that curlicue. We are going to grab our other hat, okay, shove it into the inside of this hat, make sure everything is lined up, and all we have to do is sew around the edge, but don't sew it completely closed because we are going to stuff it once we get back around. So what I'm going to do right now is take some stuffing, kind of flatten it out, kind of separate it, okay, and I'm going to take it to the top of the head and just shove it into the top of the head part. Okay, so kind of flatten it out and then shove it to the top of that. And then grab some more stuffing and keep doing that. Kind of flatten your piece out. Okay, shove it to the top inside of the hat. Just to distribute it nice and flat. And then put this hat up in there. Okay, but the rest of this hat around this inside here and inside here, that will be stuffed later. Okay, so what you want to start with is sewing this bottom edge along the bottom, then up this side, and then across the front here. And we will have this pocket open to stuff afterwards. So I'm just going to, you can sew it like a whip stitch or you can sew it with a mattress stitch. Either way, it does not matter which way you sew this because this bottom edge will be curled up and you won't actually see it. So I'm going to do the mattress stitch. I just find that to be quite easy, and you can do whatever type of sewing method you want. And once I have this sewed all the way around, once I have this sewed all the way around, except this section right here, then we will stuff it and we will close this piece and then go on to the next step. Alright, so I have just this much left over to sew. I just went all the way around this section here. So we're going to use this little gap to stuff. And I have this amount of stuffing right here. So what I'm going to do is just grab a little bit and kind of flatten it out. Okay? Kind of try to flatten a lot of this out so that it's not just bulky or like lumpy or anything after we stuff. Okay? So you want to just flatten out all of your pieces and then go into the hat from this side and just slide it on down and just feel for where you need to put the stuffing. Okay? Try not to make it lumpy, try to keep it as flat as possible, but also stuffed. And you want to do the back of the head and the bottom part down here as well. So just try not to make it lumpy, and try not to overstuff this bottom part either because we will be folding it up and back. So just keep that in mind when you are stuffing. But I'm just going to go up towards the top of the head, around here. And also, if you want to, so that this part up here doesn't come loose, you can pin this or tack it down so that this top part here and the inside top part are together. And you can do that as well. But I can just do that off camera. Okay, so I'm just going to stuff the rest of this and then sew the rest of this closed just like how I sewed this outer edge. And when I'm ready to fasten this off, I will come back and we will go on to the next step of curling up the wig. Alright, once you have this fully stuffed and sewed together here, and you're ready to fasten this off, actually I'm not going to yet. I still have a lot of yarn left on my tail, and I want to curl this up and kind of tack it down. If you don't want to tack this down and you want to just have long hair straight, then you can fasten this off. But what I'm going to do, and it's best to try this on yourself or somebody, to kind of gauge where exactly you need to curl it up and how to curl it up. So what you want to do is turn this around, kind of flatten this out here, kind of bunch it up and curl it up. And we want to take this here and go into our hat all the way. I know it probably didn't show that very well, but all the way. Okay. And then what we're going to do is curl this up just like this and go all the way through. So it's curled like this. Okay. And we're just going to do that through a few of the stitches and all the way through. Tack it down. Make sure you're getting everything, there we go, all the way through. Okay, just like that. And just roll this all the way up, around. Okay, it doesn't have to be rolled all the way up, but just enough for where you're comfortable. And just go into your piece. There we go. Okay. And then out this next section here. Just like that. And kind of eyeball it and just go all the way across. And once I'm ready to actually fasten this off, I will come back and we'll do that together. Alright, you want to end on the inside of the hat, and I'm actually going to go in between the two layers of hats and then go around a couple of stitches, keep my finger in the loop, whoops, there we go, come back through the loop and then pull tight. Okay, and then to get rid of this strand, I'm just going to go in between the two layers of hat and hide it in with the stuffing. And then cut the extra. And I know there's like a lot of fabric and a lot of room, and it's very, you know, wobbly or bubbly or whatever, but once you put this on the head, it isn't going to feel that way. Also, one last thing, if you wanted to, you could put a pipe cleaner in through this curl right here, and that way it could help to shape this around the cheeks of your head. So there it is. The green costume wig is done. Thank you so much for watching and learning how to make this hat. I love it. Nate is so awesome for wearing it for Halloween. Make sure to check out the photos of our Halloween costumes. I dressed up as Gene Wilder from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And Nate was an Oompa Loompa, and that's why we made this wig. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. Thank you to Red Heart Yarns for the yarn today. Big thank you to my dad for filming and editing this tutorial and taking those fabulous photos. If you haven't seen them yet, I'll put the link in the description of this video where you can see our full Halloween costumes for 2018. Alright everyone, until next time, happy hooking!